Conceptual error. This happens when the person believes they understand the idea, but the understanding is slightly distorted. It is like looking at a map that is almost correct, but rotated just enough to lead you to the wrong place. These errors often come from memorizing without truly connecting the concept to reality, so when the question changes form, the mind cannot adapt. Interpretation error. The question is read, but not truly seen. Words are skimmed, key details are ignored, and the answer follows a version of the question that only exists in the mind of the reader. It is similar to hearing half a sentence and completing it based on assumption, which feels efficient but quietly leads to the wrong path.
Calculation error. The reasoning is correct, but the execution slips. A number is misplaced, a sign is inverted, or a small arithmetic detail breaks the entire result. It is like building a perfect structure on a weak screw that no one notices until everything collapses.
Attention error. The mind drifts for a moment, and that moment is enough. A detail is skipped, a condition is ignored, or an instruction is left unseen. These errors are not about knowledge, but about presence, like driving a familiar road and missing a turn simply because the mind was elsewhere.
Time management error. The person knows what to do, but the clock becomes an invisible pressure. Too much time is spent on one question, leaving others unanswered or rushed. It mirrors real-life decisions where focusing too long on one problem causes others to quietly accumulate. Time management error. The person knows what to do, but the clock becomes an invisible pressure. Too much time is spent on one question, leaving others unanswered or rushed. It mirrors real-life decisions where focusing too long on one problem causes others to quietly accumulate. Memory recall error. The information exists somewhere in the mind, but it cannot be accessed at the right moment. Under pressure, the brain hesitates, mixing details or retrieving incomplete versions. It feels like knowing a word, but being unable to say it when it matters most. Overconfidence error. The question seems easy, so it is treated lightly. Steps are skipped, verification is ignored, and certainty replaces caution. These errors often come from familiarity, where the brain assumes mastery and stops paying full attention. Anxiety-driven error. The knowledge is there, but emotional pressure interferes. The heart races, thoughts become fragmented, and simple reasoning turns into confusion. It is like trying to think clearly in the middle of noise, where clarity exists but cannot be reached. Pattern misrecognition error. The mind tries to match the question to something seen before, but the similarity is superficial. A familiar structure hides a different logic underneath. It is like recognizing a face in the dark that turns out to be someone else entirely. Language comprehension error. The difficulty is not in the subject, but in the wording. Complex phrasing, unfamiliar terms, or subtle nuances distort understanding. The problem becomes linguistic before it becomes logical. Transfer error. The person learns a concept in one context but fails to apply it in another. Knowledge stays isolated, unable to move between situations. It is like knowing how to swim in a pool but freezing when facing the ocean.